Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing do this if you begged your ex and want them back. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing do this if you begged your ex and want them back. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you may have begged or pleaded. Once you realised this isn't going to work though, you may now feel lost and confused. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 things that you need to do now if you begged your ex and want them back. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is stop. Now this might be kind of obvious, this might be easier said than done, but you need to stop. Sometimes people fall into a pattern of behaviour which is literally an addiction. They feel that it is deep down bad for their cause, but they still can't help but do it. Like any addiction, it can be hard to break, but you can do this, and you need to do this. In most instances, if you beg or plead your dumper to come back into a relationship with you, then unfortunately, things aren't going to end well. You are not likely to get back together using this technique, and therefore you do need to stop, because instead of bringing your ex-dumper closer towards you, this type of behaviour is likely pushing them further away, and you are probably already feeling this, hence why you are listening to today's podcast. But how can you stop? What is the best way to do so? Well, considering your unique specifics is something I can't do during this generalised podcast, but what I can do is give you advice which works a lot of the time, irrespective of a position you find yourself in, and that includes things such as distractions. You need to find distractions which can take your mind off wanting to contact your ex, and therefore you need to be considering, when are you most likely to want to reach out to your ex? When are you most likely to beg and plead? When are those moments of each day that you fall into that trap? Now perhaps you work with your ex. Maybe this is where you try and speak with them and beg and plead. If that's the case, then you need to be doing everything you can to avoid your ex during those social interactions that you may normally have had with them. Perhaps, for instance, you used to have breaks with your ex. You used to spend time and speak with them during breaks from when you were at work. If that is the case, try and see if you can change when you have your break. Try and change the time that you set off to work. Maybe go a little bit earlier. Obviously, you don't want to be going later, you can't be late, but you could go even earlier, maybe get there before you would bump into them before you start, and therefore you can try and get through the day with as little social interaction with your ex as possible. Now I know a lot of you probably don't work with your ex, and instead maybe the times that you're most likely to reach out to your dumper is when you have free time when you're at home, and therefore you need to be filling this free time as much as possible. Speaking to friends and family can also help during this time. So one example could be, if you were on the verge of wanting to reach out to your ex-dumper, instead of doing this, reach out to a friend or family member. You don't have to tell them, hey, I'm reaching out to you because I was about to text my ex. You don't have to say that, but just start a conversation with your friend or family member at the exact moment you would have reached out to your dumper instead. Now there is another technique that I like to speak about. This is something which you have to kind of use your common sense as for whether it could fit in with you, depending on where you are, depending on your health and fitness levels at this time. But this is quite useful for people who do have opportunity and the ability to do so. And that is, every time you are thinking about reaching out to your ex, instead of reaching out to them, I would like you to do 5 sit-ups. That might sound kind of random if you didn't expect me to go down that path in what I just said, but it can be very, very effective. Now, it doesn't have to be 5 sit-ups. It could be 5 press-ups, 5 push-ups, 5 star jumps. You could be jogging on the spot for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is a short burst of exercise. And it can't be too elaborate because it needs to be something that you can do where you are. And generally this will work best when you're at your own home. That is why I said sit-ups initially, because most people will have space to get onto the floor and do some sit-ups. Again, making sure that your health and fitness allows you to do this. But if it does, it can be very, very useful. Doing exercise will give us endorphins. The positive endorphins impact our mindset in a way which can make us feel better about ourselves. If you're feeling really low, really down, really sad, this can give you a boost, a natural, healthy boost by doing a burst of exercise. Similarly, it is going to take your mind off contacting your ex for a short period of time, and hopefully that amount of time will change what you are going to do. By the time you finish doing the short burst of exercise, hopefully you are beyond the point where you wanted to reach out. If you're able to be very consistent with this challenge, and every time you want to reach out to your ex, you do sit-ups or press-ups or whatever instead, not only will you be getting fitter and fitter, which is a really good byproduct of this negative situation you find yourself in, but as well as that, you will start to have a subconscious thought of, I'm feeling really tired, I don't have the energy to do 5 sit-ups, so I'm going to try and live my life in a way where I'm going to have to do this exercise because I'm going to do other things other than be on the verge of reaching out to my ex. Because of course, if you're not on the verge of reaching out to them, you don't have to do the sit-ups, the push-ups, the jogging on the spot. So you might be able to shift your mindset because you don't want to do the exercise, so your subconscious helps you think in different ways where you are never on the verge of grabbing that phone to send a text to your ex. And if you do, if you're just about to and you think, oh no, okay, I've got to do the sit-ups, well, at least the byproduct of which is that you will be getting fitter and healthier. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is do the opposite. So today we're speaking about do this if you begged your ex and want them back. And point number 2 is do the opposite. Now, what is the opposite of wanting to beg and plead your ex? Well, in my opinion, the opposite of which is obviously don't do that, but also it is about spending time on yourself. Because if you are begging and pleading your ex, what you are actually doing is wasting time on something which is unlikely to help you, but could be better spent in a different way. It could be better spent on yourself. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, there are many things you could be doing other than begging and pleading your ex. You could be, as I mentioned in point number 1, doing exercise. Going out and doing exercise, whether it is at the gym, whether it is going for a walk, it doesn't even have to be particularly intense, is a great use of your time. It helps you, as I've already mentioned, with the endorphins, giving you a positive mindset. It helps with your physical fitness, the byproduct of which is you look more physically attractive. And if you want to try to get your ex back, that can never be a bad thing. But on top of this, it really gives you something to focus your mind, your energy, and try to burn off that adrenaline, which a lot of dumpees tell me they have. Lots of dumpees will say, I'm spending my time just pacing up and down in my house. I can't think straight. Well, if you need to do something where you're pacing up and down, you may as well use that as a way to improve your physicality through actual exercise. And you could say pacing around your house is actually exercise anyway, but you know what I mean. You could be going to the gym, going for a walk outside, getting some fresh air. That would be a better use of your time. You need to burn off that adrenaline, as it's something which can really affect not just your mood, but also your appetite. Some people feel that they can't eat. Some people can't stop eating. It does affect people's appetite. Some people, like I said, will binge. Some people won't eat at all. We need to eat as healthy as possible, and we need to do this as soon as possible. It's not always easy, but you need to get your eating pattern under control in a healthy way ASAP. So exercise, as we've said, is a very good way to spend your time. But what else? Well, I would say that none of us are perfect, and we're all at different levels at different things in our life. If you are someone who can't tie your shoelace, and you might laugh when I say that, but if you're not, then learning how to tie your shoes would be a great way to spend your time. Now, that might be a simple challenge to most of you, but something is only simple if you can do it. Now you might think, well, I can do that easy. Well, okay, do you have a qualification at the local college or university? Maybe that is a much tougher challenge for you, and maybe that is something that you could be thinking of. So it doesn't matter what the challenge is. It doesn't matter whether somebody thinks it's simple or not. It's for you. You need to level up on everything you are doing. So using that example, if you can't tie your shoelaces, you need to learn how to tie your shoelaces. If you can do that, then what else can't you do? Are you someone who can't drive, but you've always wanted to learn how to drive? Well, now you have time to learn how to drive. Because unfortunately, when you've gone through a breakup, you don't have the time that you're spending with your ex, but what you do have is time to spend on other things, as we've been speaking about. And therefore, learning how to drive would be a great way to improve your skill set. Maybe, as I've mentioned a few moments ago, it's more educational that you're thinking. You go to a local community college or university, or do a course from home to improve your knowledge, improve your abilities, and give you a better chance of finding a more improved job, moving up the ladder, starting your own business, becoming someone who brings more money into your life. Again, is never a bad thing. It's not about trying to get your ex back, who you might see as someone who only wants you for your money, which I doubt is the case most of the time. It's more about you focusing on your life. If you can earn more money, that is a good thing for you, the byproducts of which makes you seem more appealing, not due to the money that you earn, but the ambition that you show. Ambition is one of the top things that people tell me that they look for in a partner. So the byproduct of increased ambition is increased wealth. It's not about people being gold diggers per se, it's about people recognizing ambition. Now, ambition doesn't just have to come from jobs and your own business. It could come from goal setting in any way that you see fit. Perhaps you've said to yourself that you want to start a new hobby or a new interest that you really want to focus on. That is great as well. The important thing is that you do something, because if you have been chasing your ex, if you've been begging and pleading, if you want them back, you need to be improving yourself, not just in the way of stopping begging them. Okay, that's going to stop the problem of annoying your ex and chasing them further away, but you now need to improve yourself so that if and when they think, oh, my ex-dumpee is no longer chasing me, what are they doing with their life? I'm going to reach out to them. If they reach out to you, you need to have something to say. Because if you have nothing to say when they reach out, and they just gather that you've been sitting at home alone during this time, okay, you've not been bothering them, but you've not been doing anything productive either, well, that is not really an attractive trait. It's not really something which is likely to make them want to come back to you. So please spend your time wisely, and please spend your time on you. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.datetome.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is give the energy. Now, when I say give the energy, of course we are linking this once more to the topic of today's podcast, which is do this if you begged your ex and want them back. And therefore giving the energy is something that you need to do to increase the chance of getting your ex back, but in a way that you probably wouldn't guess. And that is give the energy to someone else. And when I say someone else, I mean a potential new romantic option. Now, I've spoke to many dumpers over the years, and most of them have told me if they believe, or at least consider, that their ex-dumpee might possibly be dating someone new, they would actually feel a level of jealousy, a level of intrigue, and see their dumpee as a dateable option. Remember, they've dumped you because they lost romantic emotional attraction. Your dumper doesn't see you as a dateable option. Now, they need to see you in that light again. They need to see you as a possible person who they could date. Now, what is the best way to show that? Well, if other people want to date you, or certainly spend time with you, it shows you as someone who has value in that regard. So you might think it is counterintuitive, but if you spend time with other people that your exper-dumper doesn't know, if you actually go on dates, if you put yourself in a position where your dumper is considering that you might be dating other people, well, this will increase the chance of one day getting your ex back through the intrigue, the wonder, and ultimately a little bit of jealousy that your dumper might now be feeling. So how can you go about this? Well, I suggest starting off with dating apps. Some people like them, some people don't, but they're a great way to dip your toe back into the dating pool. And even if you don't feel ready to meet anyone, starting to have those conversations again. Learning how to converse with people is a really important skill, because if you hear from your ex again, your communication skills need to be on point. And if you don't practice communicating, well, you'll get worse at it. Communication skills are one of what I refer to as perishable skills. If you don't use it, you lose it. And the best way to practice communicating in this kind of way, I would suggest, is online dating. Remember, you don't have to meet anybody if you don't feel ready. But if you're speaking with people, you will improve your skills, including flirting skills, no doubt, in this way. And you may get to the stage where you do feel comfortable meeting someone. And even if you don't want to get into a serious relationship, as long as you are honest and genuine with the person you are meeting, then that's absolutely fine. And if your dumper finds out, well, I've already said, they might now see you as a dateable option and actually be more interested in potentially reaching out to connect with you. Now, if you don't know what to do online dating, if you're worried that your profile isn't very good, if you don't know how to speak or respond to messages, this is again something that I speak with people about on my audio coaching service. It could be something maybe that could help you. Ultimately, and at the end of the day, if you want to get your ex back, you need to make sure you stop annoying your ex, stop chasing them away. You need to improve yourself, become a version 2.0, and then you need to become a dateable individual.